Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here and welcome to episode 16 of Gold Goes to the Movies. Yeah, we're rattling through them now. Time for another batch of movies. A few new releases, one at the cinema, a few on streaming as well on various platforms. One older movie I cannot believe I haven't watched, and another one, an older movie I wish I hadn't watched. And I'm just going to tell you about it so you don't have to watch it either. Let's start with a cinema release. It's been out a week or two now, but I went along to see Captain America Brave New World, or just Brave New World technically. The latest Marvel movie, of course, ushering in a kind of a new phase for the new Marvel movies that are to come. It's been very long in the making, this one. It was originally called Captain America New World Order. It's had various reshoots, plenty of question marks surrounding it as well. Is it as much of a mess as I expected it to be with all of that taken into account? No, probably not. Is it a great movie? No, definitely not. It's probably more enjoyable, though, than I thought it was going to be. It's probably more of, I'd say, a solid effort is what you'd call it. It's not spectacular. It's not got any scenes that you'll probably remember for even a day after going to see it, other than maybe one. But on the whole, it's decent enough. It's not a wasted couple of hours at the cinema. You know, that's the key way to maybe look at these things. It's got some good action scenes. Anthony Mackie kind of holds it all together as Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, who at the end of the Avengers had taken over from Chris Evans, Steve Rogers. And I mean, I think it probably helps if you'd watched, what's it called, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the TV show that'd been on Disney Plus a couple of years back. Is it essential? Probably not, but I do think it helps. I mean, I'd seen that, and I think it probably did help my understanding of the movie in certain ways. I like Anthony Mackie. I do. I've always liked him in stuff he's done. He's a very strong actor, plenty of likability. And his scenes with Danny Ramirez, who's like his protege in the movie, are probably the heart of the movie. They're the bit that really... I'd like to have seen more of that. I think that little dynamic between the two. Yeah. He also works off a certain Harrison Ford, who is in the film. He's entered the Marvel Universe now as the President, Thaddeus Ross. Not the first time he's played the man at the very top, of course, Air Force One, if anyone remembers that. Get off of my plane. Terrible impression, but I really like that film. But anyone that knows, I think the t-shirt probably gives it away as well. I'm a big Harrison Ford fan. I've loved his stuff over the years, especially even now. He's kind of got this new lease of life in TV with Shrinking, which is brilliant. 1923, which is a very good Yellowstone prequel as well. He's taken on this role in the Marvel Universe from William Hurt, the late William Hurt, who had played this role previously. After speaking about two kind of really excellent TV roles Harrison Ford's been doing recently, this role it's more of a paint-by-numbers thing. I wouldn't say he phones it in, but it's certainly, because he squeezes the most out of it. It's just not the greatest film role he's probably ever been given. My other issue with it as well is anyone that's seen the trailers, you know what's going to happen to Harrison Ford in this movie. If you've seen the trailers, you're well aware that he is going to become the Red Hulk, or Red Hulk. And also, he's been talking about it in interviews all over the shop. And I know, look, anyone with a knowledge of the comic books will be well aware that Ross becomes Red Hulk. But for the general movie-going audience, it probably wasn't well known. I didn't know. You know, I haven't read all of those kind of comics, so I wasn't aware that was going to happen until I watched every trailer and every interview that pretty much put it out there on the big screen. The TV screen. Or any device you may watch your trailers on. So, I don't know. I felt like they used it as a way to promote the movie. A bit like watch Harrison Ford get angry and Hulk smash, rather than it being a really cool plot twist, which it could have been, to catch a lot of people, I think, the general audience off guard. So we could have all been like, no way, in the cinema. But instead we're all a bit like, when's Harrison Ford going to become the Hulk? Ah, there it is. Great stuff. When's the end credit scene? I wonder what's going to happen in that. And that's kind of what it is. I'm not downplaying the scenes kind of with him and Anthony Mackie when that all happens. But I think it kind of, the impact was lessened by the fact that we just knew it was going to happen at some point. So yes, these are spoiler-free movie reviews. I am not spoiling anything. This has been everywhere in the promotion of this movie. That's what happens. Yeah, but like I said, the action scenes are quite good on the whole. Even anything to do with the Red Hulk's very good as well. But it just never really captures the heights or reaches it of previous Captain America movies, of which there's some absolute belters. There's a few nods to early Marvel stuff in terms of the movies, especially one early movie. A couple of good cameos. You've got Tim Blake Nelson is in it as a baddie who's nostalgic, but not really a great baddie. I wouldn't say he's particularly memorable. And also we had this kind of weird aspect to it where the reshoots involved bringing in Giancarlo Esposito as the character Sidewinder. Although the director, Julius Onah, I've read in some recent interviews, said that was always planned. However, it very much feels like these have been tagged in at a later date. Everything that Esposito does with Mackie, it's like, where's everyone else? Why does he just happen to have these kind of moments with Mackie? And it almost feels like you could probably only get Anthony Mackie back for these scenes. That was the only way you could do these reshoots. And if you watch it, you kind of get that vibe about it. It's almost like these very separate things that have been inserted into the movie. And look, Giancarlo Esposito is a great actor. And whether they kind of broaden out this character into the universe, I don't know. But and I'm not saying the scenes with him and Mackie aren't good. They just feel a little bit thrown in there in certain places to kind of tell a slightly different story to maybe what they had originally planned. But like I say, director Julius Onah says that it was always planned. And who am I to argue with that? Although reading his interview, I think it was with Variety, you do get a sense of how much is put into these movies from external influences, the Marvel world. Kevin Feige, I presume, is all these little bits and pieces that kind of have to be inserted to set up and tee up things to come. And it feels like there's a lot of that. I mean, there was already loads going to be in it anyway. There's a reference to Eternals. If anyone thought that was going to be kind of brushed under the carpet, it's not. There's plenty of setting up things for future movies as well. There's a post-credit scene right at the end, if you're going to wait around. It's a little bit cliche, but I guess it kind of does the trick for what you expect it to do. Don't expect to be blown away by it. It's just kind of a bit of a archetypal scene you get in those kind of ones. The movie itself's made, I think it's past the $300 million mark at the box office, having made $208 million in its first week, which means even in its first week, it surpassed the entire total for the Marvels. The Marvels, I was talking about the Eternals, wasn't it? Marvels is Marvel's biggest flop. That had only made 206. Captain America made the 208 in its first week. So it got past that. It actually, in its first week, only made $3 million less than Deadpool and Wolverine got in its first week, which is quite interesting, isn't it? Two very different kind of films. The budget for this one was $180 million, which is less than some of the more recent Marvel movies that took a bashing. So maybe it's not going to be seen as a flop or anything like that. It's all right. It's just all right. That's it. Maybe a lot of people will sit and watch it when it comes onto streaming on Disney Plus, whatever it's going to come onto first. It's okay. It's genuinely okay. It's not great, but it's okay. It's not a bad movie by any shape or form, but it does feel almost at times a movie made by committee, and I think that's a lot of people's problems with it. Next movie, which I really enjoyed, and far more than I thought I would, to be honest, and that's The Gorge. It's a new movie on Apple. Sometimes when you pop a movie on late at night, you haven't got high hopes for it, but you sit down, utterly concentrated on it in the dark, or certainly not too many lights on, and it feels a bit like you're in a cinema, and you really get into it. That's what happened to me with The Gorge. It's really good fun. It's not high art, it's not the pinnacle of cinema, but it's a fun concept with two very strong leads in Miles Teller, Anna Taylor-Joy. The concept is what it's all about. The concept is two of the world's best snipers are given the kind of mission by their respective countries. Teller is given the mission by Sigourney Weaver, of all people. Not, her playing a character, of course. Their mission is to be either side of this big gorge for a year, and they've got to stop whatever might come out of this gorge. So there you go. Admit it, you're kind of interested, like, what's in the gorge? And that's why it's called The Gorge. There's no beating around this, there's no subtlety to it. And they're not told what's in this gorge when they take on the mission. The kind of only bits of information they get is from the guard that they take over from, and they kind of give little bits of information to them. For example, Teller's predecessor tells him he thinks it's the gateway to hell. It's not to say it is, but that's his theory about it as well. They're following in the footsteps of other guards that have been looking over this gorge for, I think it's like a century or so. And they're instructed they cannot interact with the guard on the other side. So Teller to Taylor-Joy or likewise. And what we kind of get from it, of course they're going to break that rule. Of course they are. And it leads to what ends up being this kind of romantic, sci-fi, horror, suspense, thriller, all kind of mangled into one. And it's good fun. It is. The script was written by Zach Dean, and it's been on the blacklist. I think it was 2020 it was on the blacklist, which is, if you're not aware of it, it's an annual published list of the most liked but unproduced screenplays. The blacklist, it's published every year. It's been done for the past 20 years or so. It's always in December. It's by Franklin Leonard, a development executive. And if you kind of want a sense of some of the ones that are on it, 450 of the 1,000 screenplays that have appeared on this list over the years have been made into movies because they weren't previously. You're talking about Argo, Spotlight, King's Speech, The Revenant, Slumdog Millionaire, so many more. I read the other day that the movies on those lists have won 50 Academy Awards and made more than $30 billion at the box office. So it shows you this is a really important list to kind of get these kind of, for some reason or another, unmade scripts into movies. And they clearly, a lot of them do well. The Gorge was on the list, like I said, in 2020, along with Flight Risk, which we saw come out this year with Mark Wahlberg, directed by Mel Gibson, which wasn't particularly well received. The following year's list, 2021, had Challengers and The Family Plan, which obviously have come out and been kind of hits in their own way. The Family Plan has got a sequel coming out, hasn't it? But anyway, back to The Gorge. Very ably directed by Scott Derrickson. You might remember did the first Doctor Strange movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. He's done quite a few kind of horror movies, including a couple with Ethan Hawke, Sinister and The Black Phone as well. And he does good work with this. It's good. It's definitely up there. Maybe my second highest of the bunch that I'm going to talk about today. And the two leads, they do genuinely have good chemistry. It works really well between them. The way their kind of chemistry and bond grows throughout the film is well handled. It genuinely is almost a romantic comedy slap bang in the middle of a sci-fi horror thriller kind of movie. And maybe you care about what happens to them at the end of it all more because of that connection. The action scenes, again, like Captain America, slick. While there's this kind of growing realisation of what does lie within the gorge. It's all very suspensefully dealt with. There's a little nod, which apparently was in the original script before Teller and Taylor-Joy were even on board, which ends up being a bit of a nod towards Whiplash and the Queen's Gambit, which at one point, apparently they fought to have it, or they wanted it not in there because they felt it was a little too on the nose, but it's stuck in there. And I think it's quite a sweet little moment, actually. I think it works quite well. And it's done well for Apple. I think it's had the biggest launch for a movie on Apple TV Plus, beating Wolves, which we spoke about in a previous video. It's not going to be for everyone. And the reviews, I think, have been a bit mixed. But I think it's going to end up being quite well received by people on the whole that watch it. It's just a bit of fun. It's elevated by the 2 stars and a nice little turn by the always brilliant Sigourney Weaver. So that's that. What have we got? Movie 3 is another one I watched on, I think it was on Disney Plus, actually. I watched that in the UK. If you'll pardon the language, it's called Night Bitch, which is an interesting movie. It only came out briefly in the cinemas, I think. And it's now on Disney Plus. And it stars Amy Adams as a mother looking after her little boy with her husband working away from home a lot. We get to see the kind of lovely moments that she has with her son, but also the difficulties and how much essentially being, a kind of a single parent is, and the strains of it all as well. But on top of all of that, and hence the title. It's not, the word is using the dog canine sense of the word. She's kind of going through these little physical changes which appear to suggest she's turning into a dog. It's very much a movie that I guess is an insight into motherhood. It's unrealised dreams. It's a look at that and plenty more as well. It's all based on a novel by Rachel Yoder, and it's directed and adapted by Marielle Heller. None of the main characters are ever named. They're simply mother, husband, and son. And apparently that's because Amy Adams' character just sees herself as a mother and nothing more, because that's pretty much how society sees her. Amy Adams is very good. She's a brilliant actress. She's so good in everything she is. And she kind of keeps you in her camp throughout this movie, whatever comes and whatever strange things happen. Her husband is played by Scoot McNairy, who we spoke about recently for his turn in A Complete Unknown. He's good in this movie, as he always is. I've liked him previously. Narcos Mexico is very good in. True Detective he's in. He's always popping up in his little kind of character roles. And the movie itself, I think, probably just serves as a reminder of how much single parents or parents that have to take the load of parenthood, what they go through. It goes in some strange directions, and Amy Adams just about keeps you with it as it gets weirder and weirder. I wouldn't say I loved the film, I've got to stress that, but certainly I appreciated what it was trying to do. I think the reviews, again, were a little bit mixed, and I can understand why. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. It's definitely very odd in moments, but there's also some really nice scenes in it as well. And like I said, Amy Adams kind of holds it all together. So yeah, please do watch it if you get a moment and let me know what you think of it. My favourite movie of the bunch was an old movie that I cannot believe I haven't watched. I just saw it was on Sky, and I had a couple of hours, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to sit down and finally watch this. It's a movie from 2007, and I loved it. And it is, honestly, when I say the name, I know people are just going to go, oh my goodness, Gold, why have you not watched this film until this point? It is No Country for Old Men. I watched it on Sky. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's written and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen, based on a novel from a couple of years previously by Cormac McCarthy. Do you know, I genuinely think it might have elevated itself so quickly to being one of my favourite Coen Brothers movies. It's that good. It's brilliant. And they've got some wonderful movies. And this, for me, just rocketed straight up there. If you haven't, like me, hadn't watched it or haven't watched it yet, please do. It's so good. It's about a man played by Josh Brolin. Apparently it was originally offered to Heath Ledger, who couldn't do it. So Josh Brolin's character, he comes across this drug deal out in the countryside. We're very much talking about the American countryside here, not the English one. He comes across this drug deal that's all gone sideways, and among the mess he finds is a briefcase with $2 million in it, and kind of what comes next for that. Apparently, Josh Brolin had to refight for this role. I think he enlisted like Tarantino and Roberto Rodriguez to help him try and get this role and get the attention of the Coen brothers, who eventually saw his audition and was like, okay, and he got it, and he's terrific. He's really, really good in it. But obviously, a man on the trying to hide the fact that he's got $2 million in a briefcase, someone's going to be looking for that. Of course they are. And that is the hitman, played by Javier Bardem, who's amazing. He's got a horrendous haircut, a horrible way of killing people, and he is just hunting him down methodically. And I got this little thing, I saw this on IMDb, and I just wanted to kind of add it into this because I thought it was really interesting. According to a January 2018 article in Business Insider, a group of psychiatrists studied 400 movies and identified 126 psychopathic characters. They chose Javier Bardem's portrayal of Anton Chigurh, I think this is the way his name is pronounced, as the most clinically accurate portrayal of a psychopath. I think that's a good thing. I think from an actor, that's got to be a good thing. He is brilliant. And if that isn't good enough, throw into this movie Tommy Lee Jones, Kelly MacDonald, Woody Harrelson, and it's a cracker. It won Best Picture at the Oscars. It won Best Director. It won Best Supporting Actor for Bardem. The first Spanish actor to win an Oscar, apparently. Best Adapted Screenplay as well. And it's superb. Don't make the mistake I did. Go and watch it as soon as you possibly can. It's brilliant. Even if you kind of maybe find the Coen Brothers stuff sometimes a little bit out there or or whatever. This isn't like that. I actually felt this is quite kind of mainstream as well as having a lot of the themes and kind of stuff from their other movies. It's terrific. It's really terrific. Another movie I watched, which the other end of the spectrum, not so good, and probably could have left this one a bit longer before watching it, was Borderlands, which I watched on Amazon Prime. Co-written and directed by Eli Roth, which you're kind of surprised that when you watch it. It doesn't feel like an Eli Roth film. It's based on the video games. It's your kind of classic tale of misfits banding together for a greater good. It's got lots of great acting talent in it. You've got Cate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Jamie Lee Curtis, Gina Gershon, Edgar Ramirez, Ariana Greenblatt, and all of that. You think, oh, this should be amazing. It's not. It's really bland. It's really bland. There's so much scope to make it a really fun movie, and kind of really great action-packed scenes, but it's all very kind of lackluster, lazy, lacking in any real sparkle. Cate Blanchett's probably the one who kind of rises above it, but still, it's just a mess of a movie. Apparently it went through reshoots almost 2 years after they started the original filming and completed the original filming. And the reshoots were directed by Tim Miller rather than Roth, who was busy. One of the writers removed his name from the project. It only ended up making, I think, $33 million worldwide from a budget that was about $120 million. Unlike most Roth movies as well, it doesn't have an R rating. And that was allegedly part of the problem for him and why it kind of languished in production hell for so long. And I think it's probably worse for it. I think maybe if you let Eli Roth make his version of it, maybe it's a better film. I think it has to be. I think it'd be difficult not to make it a better film. It's kind of sits in this horrible middle ground of it's not horrendously cheesy and bad enough that you kind of watch it and enjoy how cheesy it is. It's just meh. It's just really forgettable and bland, and it really shouldn't be. But yet it's still not the worst movie of the bunch this week for me. And people might disagree with me on this one, but I saw on Amazon Prime, I saw this movie, Destination Wedding. 2018 movie. It came out in 2019 in the UK. And I looked at it, I thought, oh, Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, two very charming, watchable actors, reunited. They did Bram Stoker's Dracula. I'm thinking, yes, here we go. This is going to be good. And it kind of starts off and you think, oh, okay, all right. It's a little kind of back and forth. Oh, nice, like kind of bit of spark, romantic comedy kind of thing. Oh, my goodness. Oh my goodness. This movie managed to take two of the most likeable actors in kind of TV and movies in generations, and it makes you want to never watch them in a film again. Honestly, I couldn't stand it. And I'm someone that sits through movies. My wife fell asleep and then gave up, didn't care about watching the second half at any point. I never switch off. I had to stick through it. This is the closest I've ever come to not being that bothered about finishing a film. It's the story of two squabbling people who realise they're going to the same wedding in California. There is so much talking in this movie. I mean, so much. And I'm someone that loves a good talky movie. If the script is sharp and witty and funny, love it. There's none of these things. It's unfunny. It's overwritten. It really borders on irritating for long periods. Just really annoying. It like sucks all the sympathy and empathy you might have for the people you're meant to be sticking with, and that makes me sad because I really like Keanu Reeves. I love Speed, Point Break. I was talking about this with someone the other day. How brilliant Point Break is. The Bill and Ted films are fantastic. The Matrix, the John Wick films, they're all great. And the fact that he's 60 and he looks like he does is remarkable. He is a great kind of fun actor to watch in so many things. Likewise, Winona Ryder. She's brilliant in so much. The Beetlejuice movies. Loads of Tim Burton films, actually. Reality Bites, Little Women, Stranger Things now on TV, which she's brilliant in over recent years. She's a twice Oscar-nominated actress, for goodness sake. How dare they make me want to stop watching these two people? It's so annoying. How dare they make my wife not even want to watch the rest of the film? It's grounds for treason. It really is. Anyway, I shall speak no more of this movie. I'm just saying, don't. You may want to watch it, and some people might enjoy it. They might try and see the positives in it. I really struggled. Oh, it stank the room out. It really did. It was dreadful. So that's the group of movies, kind of ending on a low note, and I guess continuing with, unfortunately, a sad low note. Really should mention the passing of the great Gene Hackman, along with his wife as well. Incredibly sad. For me as a kid, Superman was one of my movies. Just one of my loved. Just I would put it on, get to the end, put it back on again. Of course, Gene Hackman was my Lex Luthor, and for many as well. And he was amazing. I think he did 3 of the films, didn't he? But of course, that's just touching the kind of the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Gene Hackman's brilliant roles. French Connection, Unforgiven, Bonnie and Clyde, Mississippi Burning, The Conversation, The Firm, Get Shorty. I loved him in The Birdcage. He's so good in The Birdcage. The Royal Tenenbaums, Poseidon Adventure even. Honestly, I could go on because there's so many brilliant roles he's been in. Just a wonderful actor. And obviously very sad. I think he was 95. So he had retired a fair few years ago. But yeah, just a brilliant actor. Loads of movies coming out in the weeks ahead. Actually, as soon as I finish this, I'm going downstairs to watch Nickel Boys, which has come on Amazon, which my wife and I both really like the look of and wanted to see kind of what that was all about. That's been getting good reviews as well. So I shall provide an update on that in the next video. Then there's other stuff coming out. So The Monkey, I think I said before, I want to watch at the cinema. The Last Showgirl's out as well. It's getting good buzz. Marching Powder, the latest Danny Dyer effort. Black Bag. Later this month, you've got Snow White, The Alto Knights, Novocaine. I saw the trailer for Minecraft movie, which actually looks like it could be interesting as well. I think that's like early April. That's here in the UK. It comes out. So yeah, loads of movies out there to watch. Going to head off now, and hopefully there's some among those you might want to watch, and there's some you might want to steer clear of. But as always, stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves, and above all, keep watching those movies because they're good fun. Yeah, catch you later. Goodbye.